so we're obviously home now and I'm just going to give you a little video with my thoughts on the trip and my very small haul. I'm not a massive merch person, so I didn't buy absolutely tons of stuff, but I did buy a few things. And I also bought a few things for other people, and my sister bought a few things for her and the kids. I obviously don't have the things here with me that my sister bought for her and the kids, but I should have been able to get some screenshots from the footage when she bought them to hopefully show you those. So the trip overall, magical. Absolutely magical. Probably one of the best trips I've ever been on, and I would highly recommend. Going with kids, hard work. Not gonna lie, very much hard work. Especially it's Disney, you want to say yes, you don't want to have to say no to anything. So they are hyped up on sugar. They are drinking Coke Zero, which albeit sugar free does still have caffeine in it, so they were wild. They did need to go for a pee at really inconvenient times quite frequently, but it was worth it. It was so worth it. Their little faces, and people always say, oh, they're only 2 and 5, you know, they're not going to remember. No, they're probably not going to remember very much of it. 2-year-old probably won't remember it at all. 5-year-old might remember parts of it, but I'll remember it, my sister will remember it, and they can actually look back on these videos when they're a bit older as well and relive it, you know, for themselves, which will be really sweet and nice. So where shall we start? I think with the travel. Now the travel, that was the most stressful part of the whole weekend. Getting the Eurostar with all of our things was really hard. Now I would say if it had been just 2 adults, or if the children were slightly older and we didn't have the wagon, 10 times easier. Like, really would have been so much less stressful. But having a 2-year-old that really cannot understand why he needs to wear a wrist strap getting in and around the train stations, cannot understand why we're in and out of the wagon, doesn't understand, please don't ask me questions while we're trying to navigate this really busy, stressful area. It's hard, but he's 2 and he doesn't understand. The 5-year-old understands a little bit more. Like, Elliot's a bit better. You can tell him, you know, when we get to the station and we're getting off the train, it's going to be really stressful, it's going to be really busy. It's not safe for us to not concentrate. So although you have 100 questions, please can you hold your questions until we're on the next train and we're sat down. And he was actually an absolute star with that. He would look at me, he'd go, sorry, no questions. Which was really sweet. And then as soon as we sat down on the train though, they all came flooding out, question, which was a lot after a stressful journey. Getting on at London onto the Eurostar wasn't too bad. There was plenty of space for everyone's luggage and we were able to sort of get it into the storage area, albeit we had to put it up a shelf. People were there to help and people were really kind, helping us on and off, and we got to our seats. We had a nice little table seat and that was fine. It was the changeover at Lille that we found really difficult with all of the stuff. And again, coming home, that changeover was remarkably stressful because our first train was a double-decker train and we were sat upstairs. But of course, everyone for both floors immediately tries to put all their luggage on the bottom, and we had 2 stops between Disney and Lille, and the train had obviously come from somewhere else before, so it was absolutely rammed. That was, yeah, somewhat difficult. I wouldn't do it again with kids that age. I think I would rather give up the quicker travel and just go with someone that can drive, or if there was even just one more adult with us, I think that would have made the world of difference, because one adult could have taken the 2 little suitcases, one adult can deal with the wagon, and one adult can take both kids. To, you know, it would have alleviated that stress a lot more. I don't know that I would necessarily fly. Just as an adult or 2 adults on our own, I would fly. 100%. It's quicker, it's quite often cheaper because you can get a good deal, but I don't know that we'd be able to take the wagon on the plane. I think that would be quite expensive. Obviously that would have to be checked luggage, and it would have to be completely empty of everything that we had in it when we were on the train. So it would probably end up working out more expensive. If the kids were slightly older and we just needed a normal buggy, it would have been so much easier. But obviously where they are only 2 and 5, although Elliot, who's 5, generally tends to walk everywhere and doesn't need a buggy or anything at home, at Disney it's a bit different. Like, he needs somewhere to sit down. It's really long days. It's really, really hard on them when they're that little, which leads me on nicely to the long days. They are long days. You want to get up and make the most of your early magic hour if you're staying on site, and you want to be there till the end of the day because you want to see the fireworks, which were amazing. But you will have seen by now that on the Saturday night, when we'd planned to actually watch the fireworks with that front on view of the castle, we ended up leaving. It was just too crowded, it was too much for the kids, and that's okay. You just have to go with the flow that is Disney with toddlers, you know. It's not easy by any means, but I would still do it again. I would take it slower next time. You have a tendency to want to cram in as much as you can, you know. It's a once in a lifetime holiday. We're only here for 4 days. We want to get as much done as possible, but it burns you out. You might have seen, if you follow me on Instagram, one of the evenings, it was on the Saturday night actually, I posted a couple of photos, and you would have seen me with my feet in the bath. I didn't have a bath. I just ran a shallow hot bath with bubbles in just to soak my feet because my feet were so sore. And you could just imagine if the kids had been on their feet as well, it would have just been so tough for them. So I'm glad we had the wagon just for them to, you know, be able to sit in, and it meant they could manage a whole day. It meant Arthur, who's 2, could have a nap, which was priceless. He needed those naps that he had. But yeah, it is a long day. I would recommend finding something to do in the middle of the day for a break. Not easy. Again, with toddlers who don't want to miss out on anything and they don't want to take a break. They want to keep go. I potentially would say I'd rather pay a little bit extra next time for one of the hotels that has a swimming pool, because that definitely would have gotten them out of the parks. Like, if we'd said, right, we're going to go back, we're going to have some lunch, and then you can go swimming, they could have gone in the pool for an hour, and me and Charlie could have just sat at the side of the pool and watched them at the pool, or even got in for a little dip ourselves, and that would have been a nice little break from the parks. I want to go just with adults next time that I go. Obviously I don't have any children myself, so I don't need to go with children. I'd like to go on the weekdays and not necessarily go over a weekend. That was the other thing, like Saturday and Sunday were so much busier than Thursday and Friday. I mean, even Friday was really busy in the Studios park. I mean, Friday by 9:30 in the morning, the queue for Crushers was 70 minutes, and even single rider was 45. So it just goes to show how busy it was. Obviously on Saturday, and by the time we'd finished Magic Hour in there on Sunday morning, the queue was 2 hours. So, you know, just absolutely heaving. I would probably go again. I would have 2 options really. So I don't work on a Wednesday or on the weekends. I do 4 long days at work, so that I have that extra day off in the middle. And I would probably go either travel on a Sunday and then have the Sunday evening there, because a lot of people go home on a Sunday, so you could sort of feel towards the later part of Sunday people were slowly starting to leave. And I could do Sunday, Tuesday, come home Wednesday. I'd only need to take 2 days off. Or travel on the Wednesday and do Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, come home Saturday, because then you've got all of Sunday as a day off as well without having any extra leave, and you still only need to use 2 days off. That's what we're doing when we go to Munich in June. We're doing Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, come home Saturday. That way we've got Sunday to just sort of chill out and recoup from travel. The other thing that's sort of holding me back at the moment on booking another trip is cost. It's not cheap. For me, my share of this holiday was around £650, which is good. You know, that's not a bad price for Disney, especially staying on site and including a weekend. And we can get a good deal, but it's also the time off. I've obviously got like 5-6 trips planned for next year, so when on earth I would have the time to take the annual leave, have enough annual leave left, and have the money to do another trip next year? It probably won't happen. I am already thinking about 2026, so maybe waiting until the new areas in the Studios Park are open, and especially like this Lion King area, I'm really excited for that. And going back over in 2026 when that's all done is definitely on the cards. So watch this space for that one. I will obviously book that though as soon as it's available to get the best price. We'll let you know obviously closer to the time, but I'm thinking maybe like May time 2026, so the weather's like nice, not boiling, but you know, shorts and t-shirts weather still. And so I would need to book that in sort of May, June time next year, so we'll have a look. I would absolutely love to be able to stay in the Disneyland Hotel, but that is at this present moment very much not within the budget. If we did that, it would probably be our only holiday for 2026, and I like to go on holiday a bit more than that. Like I said, we don't have children, we both work full time, and I want to make the most of that with as much travel as we can possibly get in while we can. So it would probably be another kind of budget hotel. I would maybe branch out a bit closer to the park, maybe stay in the lodges. That would probably be quite nice, and they do also have a pool, so that's another option. I do like a swim, so that would be a possibility. The next thing that I really wanted to talk about is the dining plan. So we went for the half board dining plan, and I think it was really good value for money. Now obviously it depends how you use your main meal credits. So what it is you get breakfast every morning that you're there. So for us that was 3 breakfasts. Now I thought you had lunch or dinner every day that you're there. It's not, it's 3 times. So I thought we would be able to have lunch or dinner. When did we get there? Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night. And I thought we'd be able to have lunch on Sunday before we go as well, but we couldn't. That's my bad though. I just didn't look into that properly enough. So I would have changed how we used one of our meal credits. So on the very first day when we got there, we hadn't made any reservations for dinner or lunch or anything like that, because we just didn't know how long it would take us to get through security at the other end of getting out and into our hotel and back into the parks. So we didn't want to risk missing a reservation, and we decided we would just do like a quick service type dinner, like a fast food place. And we used all of our meal credit on that, and then paid the difference, because the youngest one is 2. He doesn't pay for anything, so he doesn't get credits. He's classed as eating off of your plate. So we paid the difference for that, which was like €16. And then on the last day, our original plans were to go to Plaza Gardens for lunch before we left, but we'd actually already used and run out of any credits on our meal plan, and that would have been €115, which we obviously weren't willing to pay off of a whim just before we leave. None of us were really that hungry, so I wish we had just paid for the other meal, which probably would have cost us about €50 for all of us, and saved the meal credit for another buffet sort of style lunch on the way out. But it was our first trip and we learned from that. So I would do it again if I was going with kids again, and make the most of it, especially when you've got a child under 3 years old. Like if you book buffets, which are quite expensive, they're like €45 each to get into, then you're making good value for money, and it's just a good way to plan and budget, because it's paid for before you get there. So you know, it's each to their own, isn't it? It depends what you like to do. If you don't want to sit down for a sit-down meal at all, and you're just going to be going to like fast food places, I don't think it's worth it for you. I think you're better off just paying as you go for what you want and saving that money in advance. But for us, because we wanted to make sure we had time to take a sit down meal each day and we had specific restaurants we wanted to go to, it was definitely worth it. So we had breakfast in our hotel twice. We paid the difference at the time of booking to upgrade one of our breakfasts to a character breakfast, which you will have seen if you've watched day 3. And that was also amazing, but we'll come back to that. And then obviously, like I said, on the first day we used a meal credit in the evening on like a quick service type dinner, and we went to the Coco restaurant. I can't remember the name of it. I forgot the name of it in the video as well, so if you've watched that you will have remembered and you will have heard me call it Coco Cafe. Neither of what I've called them is correct, and I will find out what it is and I will put it on the screen in this video. But that was actually, it was a really nice meal. But like I said, it probably wasn't worth the dining credits. So we had a burrito each adult, which was a meal, but that came with chips and a drink. And then the kids, Elliot had a kids meal with his credit, which he had chicken nuggets, chips, a drink, and that came with an ice cream. And then we also bought 2 portions of nachos, which was so me and Charlie could share some nachos. Did ours come with chips? I can't remember, but hopefully you've watched it in the video. And then Arthur had a portion of nachos, and then I obviously had to buy another Mickey ice cream bar because we couldn't do one child without the other. So that's where the extra $16.50 came from. And then we had a meal at Pim Kitchen. That was really, really good. I really enjoyed Pim Kitchen. I actually thought of all of the buffets, that one had the best quality of food. So if you've watched the video, you will have seen that I didn't actually get a chance to have any desserts. I was very sad about it, but you know, guess it just means we have to go back, doesn't it? But that one I thought was really good value for money, really family friendly, busy all day long. Like all day long. Our reservation was at 3:30. That was all I could get, and I literally woke up really early the day we could do reservations to book that, and all day long there was a queue outside the restaurant. They do take walk-ins as well though. There was a queue most of the day for walk-up guests, so if you haven't booked it, there is still a chance you can go in. It is definitely family friendly, and a lot of people, you will have seen reviews where they've said it's very messy. That is true, it is messy, there is food on the floor, but there's kids everywhere, you know, it's a buffet, it's gonna happen. It's not a sit down table service restaurant where you're ordering off of a menu and they've got more time to clean up. It's a lot more chaotic than that, but food wise, really, really nice. And then we used our other credit at the downtown restaurant in the Marvel Hotel. I actually didn't rate that much. I thought the actual food was not really that great of a variety. There wasn't as much as there was on offer in Pim Kitchen, and it was all quite bland. The pasta didn't taste of anything, the pizza didn't taste of anything, the garlic bread looked really garlicky, but it wasn't that garlicky. I found a lot of the meat was like tough or dry. It wasn't really my cup of tea. The desserts, however, the desserts in there were incredible. It's a shame you can't just go in and just pay for desserts, because I would 100% eat all of the desserts there almost again. I don't like chocolate mousse and the little Groot chocolate mousse, the edible one, where you can actually eat the pot. That was really nice. I tried a pumpkin pie. I didn't like it. I don't think that theirs was horrible. I just didn't like pumpkin in general. So, you know, but a buffet's a good place to try these things, isn't it? But yeah, overall, I don't think it would have been worth the money if we had paid for it out of pocket. But using a credit off of our prepaid plan, it was okay. Charlie really liked it. It was her favourite restaurant, and the kids loved it as well. So, you know, overall as a group it was worth the money, but for me personally, I don't think I would eat in there again. I certainly wouldn't waste a credit in there, and I certainly wouldn't pay out of pocket for it. So, while we're on the topic of food, snacks, we had a few like varied snacks. We had ice cream bars, the Mickey ice cream bars. I really enjoyed those. What a simple treat that was actually just really nice, but I love ice cream. We wanted to do the Creations ice cream thing, you know, where you get the Magnum with the design on it, but it was closed. They said, oh no, it's closed because it's too cold. I looked at the woman with like a hot sweaty face, like, it's not cold. And she was like, oh, but because it's October we just assume that it's going to be cold, so it's not open. But it was like 16, 17 degrees, it was boiling hot. It was cold in the mornings, cold in the evenings, but during the day I got sunburn on my nose and my scalp. Like, I didn't pack sun cream. I didn't think I'd be needing sun cream in Paris in October. But there we go. Make sure you're packed for all weather, including sun cream, because we did not pack for that. And like I said, burnt scalp, burnt nose. So that was fun. Again, when it comes to weather and packing, I forgot my coat while we were there. You might have seen that if you've watched the series. Yeah, definitely pack a good raincoat and like a big brolly, because I would say both, because when you're standing waiting for a parade or fireworks or something, you don't want to be just in the raincoat or a poncho. Like, a brolly at that point is good to have. You know, we caught the parade again on our last day whilst it was raining, and we stood under the umbrella between us, which was much nicer than just standing with rain dripping down over your poncho or your coat or anything, which I had neither of. That was silly of me. It wasn't that it was not on my list, it was just that I accidentally left it by the front door and didn't pack it and actually physically take it with me, which was very silly. But it did lead me to one of my purchases that you will see shortly, because I was cold. Hint to what it might be there, I suppose. What else do we want to talk about? Parades and fireworks. So we only really caught the Halloween parade twice, and both times by accident. We didn't actually plan to stop and watch them. So initially I wanted to stop and watch them, but my sister and the kids wanted to go on rides, and you know, in the end, because we'd seen the Halloween parade on day one by accident in full, and we'd ended up seeing the fireworks and drone show by accident on day one in full, it was no longer a priority, and the rides that were on our list became the priority. If I went again, I would try and probably take that as rest time, so find a good spot, sit down and wait for the parades and the fireworks and stuff, just for that rest, so that your feet, you know, get a snack, go rest your feet. But, you know, it wasn't the end of the world. It's not like I haven't seen them online and other people's vlogs and stuff, so it was fine that we missed them. It wasn't really a big deal. If you can get the reserved viewing area for the fireworks, I would definitely recommend that. On the Saturday, like I said earlier, we ended up having to leave the crowd of fireworks because it was just too much chaos and it was horrible. People were falling over the children, falling into the wagon. Other children were like poking their toys in the wagon at the children, and you know, you couldn't see anything anyway, because by the time the illuminations slowly started, people were just putting children on shoulders and things regardless. So it, to me, wasn't worth it, and it wasn't worth the safety of the kids, just for us to get to see the fireworks with a bit more of a front-on view than what we had seen previously. They also cancelled the drones while we were there, so quite often you will expect, especially at this time of year, that they might cancel the drones for inclement weather, so wind and rains. However, when it was cancelled for us, it was cancelled because people kept pointing laser lights on the castle. So it was quite unfortunate, really, that just two people, well, I assume two people because there were two lights, had to spoil it for thousands of people who were stood waiting for quite a long time to see that. There were announcements like asking them to stop and things, but ultimately, you know, the drones went away and the show was cancelled. There isn't really much security or policing in any way by staff in that area of Main Street when the fireworks are due. I think they could do with that, you know. I think there needs to be maybe like corrals, so that there are clear walkways and path areas for people who don't necessarily want to stop and watch the fireworks and are just trying to get through. I know you can go through the arcades either side of Main Street, but just to get across from one side to the other is impossible, and people really push and shove, and it is quite dangerous. So for me personally, it's an absolute no. I wouldn't stand in that crowd again and wait, even without the children, because I didn't even feel safe. People were shouting at each other, people were aggressive. It was not a good time, in all honesty. When we caught the fireworks on the first night, it was amazing. So like, they are worth watching. I don't think they're worth getting in the middle of a crowd for. So if you can get the reserved viewing area, which is on the Disneyland Paris app, I would say that is 100% something that's worth the money. We did try and get it. It wasn't available for us to book until a week before travel. Unfortunately, by that point it was sold out. So what I've since found out is that if you've booked your trip directly with Disney, you get access a month before. So we didn't. We booked through Hayes Travel, and I will continue to book through Hayes Travel. That for me is the best option at the moment. But if you are desperate to get a front-on view of the fireworks, then maybe that is something that might factor your decision to book directly with Disney, getting that earlier access to the reserved viewing area. Our side-on view was fine. We saw everything. We could make out kind of the illuminations on the castle, like the most important ones anyway. We still knew what was going on, and it was so much more relaxed in the area we were. So we were just round by the gift shop as you come out of the buzz ride, and it was perfect. So I would recommend, if you've got small children, those little side off areas either side of the castle are a really good place to go. So what else do I want to talk about? My top rides. So my top 5, I think, is what we'll go for, my favourite rides. I am really torn. So I think I want to say Flight Force is going to be my number 1. No, look, we'll cut that bit out. Yeah, I'm really torn on what rides to put in my top 5, because I loved every single ride that we went on. They were all fantastic. The theming is amazing. The immersiveness, the interactions, it's all incredible. But if we go from 5 up to number 1, I think... or shall I cut it down to the top 3? I'll do my top 3 and then we'll do special mentions. So in 3rd place, I think I'm going to go for Buzz. I thought the theming was amazing. As you go around the track was really cool. You know, actual, like, those little laser shooting games, I find them really fun. The kids loved it, and I love that you can spin the car around. And I love that you're in control of that. That was great fun. And I think part of that is just seeing the kids' reactions on that. They really, really loved that ride. Number 2 is really hard. I'm really, really torn between them all. I think I'm going to go Big Thunder Mountain. So I thought that was a really, really great roller coaster. Elliot absolutely loved it. He was tall enough to go on it. We had a great time. I did actually film on it. I don't know yet at this point whether I've put that footage in or not. We'll see. But it was just great. It was a really good roller coaster, really good family friendly one, and I enjoyed that quite a lot. Now my number 1 spot, I think it's going to have to go to Flight Force, Avengers Flight Force. I don't know that that's maybe going to be a bit controversial, but it's the first roller coaster that I have done in a very, very long time, and I used to do roller coasters a lot. I had a Merlin annual pass. We would go to Fort Park, Alton Towers, you name it, all the time. I loved roller coasters. I then got quite poorly with something, I'm not going to go into it right now, but that was the first roller coaster that I've been on since I've been allowed to go back on roller coasters, and it just reminded me how much I love them. So I think, and whatever roller coaster it would have been that I'd went on first, that was a proper roller coaster, would have ended up in my top spot, and that just so happened to be the one. But it was fast, it was in the dark, you went upside down, it was I just thought it was brilliant. My other two like special mentions that I really loved didn't quite make it up there. I loved the web adventure ride where you actually get to like shoot webs. I thought that was fantastic. The 3D interaction was really, really cool. It did scare Arthur a little bit. We had to take the 3D goggles off of him because he didn't like the stuff coming towards him, but once we took those off he was okay. But that was amazing. The technology behind it, incredible. And then, again, I'm torn between two here. Also, again, just based on the technology and how insanely interactive and immersive it is. But Star Wars, the tour, the simulator one, so cool. Didn't understand half of what was going on because half of it's in French, obviously, but amazing. And Ratatouille, again, just the mechanics of it, just so clever, so clever. I actually used to work in a fun fair and worked in the theme park industry for quite a few years, so I really do appreciate some of the bit more intricate mechanics and workings of certain rides. So there were certain things that really excited me in a really geeky way, just purely based off of that experience that I've had working in that industry. But yeah, they were probably my favourite rides. Rides that I didn't like, none. Rides that I didn't do, Tower of Terror. I don't like drop rides. I didn't see the point in me queuing to go on it. I knew I wouldn't like it. I don't like drops. Like, I don't mind a drop on a roller coaster, but I don't like straight drop rides, like drop towers. They're not for me. It was made more sense that my sister got to go on twice with the little one than me going on it and not enjoying it. He did ask me to go on it with him, and I managed to get out of it. If he'd asked me again, I probably would have given in to him just to please him, because that's what aunties do, isn't it? And I didn't end up getting to go on hyperspace. So we bought a fast pass for it for Charlie to go through the fast pass so we could get on it, she could get off, we could go for dinner, and I was going to go on it when we came back into the park with the fast pass from Parent Swap. However, we actually ran out of time because of all the chaos with the fireworks and ended up going back to our hotel. So your Parent Swap fast pass is only valid on that day. So it just meant that I did end up actually missing out on that one and we didn't have time to go back to it. But it's okay, I can do it another time. It's not like the ride's going anywhere anytime soon. And that leads me quite nicely on to Parent Swap or Rider Switch. They call it both names interchangeably. That was such a fantastic service. So basically, one of us would queue up in the queue either with Elliot or with neither of the children, depending who was tall enough, and the other one would wait somewhere and go off and do something with Arthur or with both of them if they both weren't tall enough. And then once you get to the front of the queue, you go on the ride. As you get off and go through the exit, you just say, can I have a Parent Swap or can I have a Rider Switch, please? At which point at the exit, they either give you a ticket, which will say swap ×2 with the date on. So it's for 2 people when you go back on. So if Elliot was big enough, it meant he got to ride twice. If he wasn't, then I obviously just used it for me, or Charlie just used it for her. However, you can use it for 2 people, so if you're a bigger group, bear that in mind. So, you know, if there's a lot of you and one of you stayed off with the children, that person can pick another adult to go back on with them, so they don't have to go back on their own. And you can still get it, even if you go through the single rider or through fast, like I keep saying fast pass, it's Premier Access. So there was a few rides where Elliot wasn't tall enough and Charlie went through the single rider line, or I went through the single rider line, which meant we only waited like 10 minutes and then we still asked for a Parent Switch and they'll still give it to you. And it's the same with Premier Access. We paid for a Premier Access for Charlie on Hyperspace and you can still get a Parent Switch when you get off at the exit. So that's fantastic, and that's a really good tip if there is only 2 of you in terms of adults, because it makes paying for Premier Access a lot more affordable. It was €14 for Charlie's Premier Access, but in theory we were both planning to go on, so it's only €7 each, which is a lot more reasonable when you're working out budgeting and things. That was really great. So, a hotel. If that car's hotel is a 2-star hotel and that is what people call the worst of Disney, I cannot even begin to imagine what the Disneyland hotel is like, or any of the other hotels for that matter. It was really clean, really spacious, really well themed, and it just suited us perfectly. It was like a 15-minute walk into the park, which actually ended up being better for us than trying to get buses with the wagon when it's busy. We actually, rather than waiting for 2 or 3 buses before we could get on, it was quicker to just walk. So we opted to just walk every single day. We only took the bus twice our entire time there, and that was when we were going back and forth on travel days, and it was at an off-peak time, so the bus was quiet. Was it worth staying on site? Absolutely. I would stay on site again. If I had an annual pass or I was going frequently, I would probably consider staying off site to save money. But if you're only going to go once or twice, then it's worth it to me. That extra magic hour is invaluable at getting a lot of stuff done. It just means that you can take in more of your surroundings rather than worrying about rides once the park does open. So definitely make the most of that magic hour. On the last day even, we opted for extra sleep and chose to get up, just give the kids a pastry in the wagon on the way to the park, get to the park for early magic hour, do the hour, and then leave. Then we left, went back to our hotel and had breakfast, because breakfast is on until 11. And then after we had breakfast, then we went back into the park. So that's a really good way round of, you know, utilising your extra magic hour without going so early to breakfast just to be able to get into the park. And probably lastly now, the main other thing that I want to talk about was the character breakfast. So worth it. Really, really good. The breakfast was just sort of the same as what was on offer in our hotel, to be honest, but we got to see 6 characters. So hopefully you've watched that in the videos, but for me, that extra price, and I can't remember what the difference was, because obviously they take off the monetary value of your dining plan. To me, it was worth that just to skip having to queue with the kids for characters. I'm not a big fan of waiting for characters. It's not a big deal to me personally, but we knew the kids would want to see characters and they wouldn't queue. We know they wouldn't queue, not at that age, so paying that little bit extra for breakfast on that day, so worth it. You don't know what characters you're going to get, but you will get 6 different characters, and you also can get into the park at like 8 AM. So they have a separate queue in the morning for people who have got character breakfast booked, and it means you can get in even before early magic hour, because breakfast is at 8:15. If you're staying on Disney property, you can book the 8:15. It means you can get in the park at 8 AM. Perfect time to get that 15 minutes to get your photos. The photos at the castle had so many less people in, so that's really, really good, and another perk to just having that breakfast booked. And I almost forgot, but Mickey and the Magician, it was so good. It was such a good show. So we weren't really fussed about shows. I like shows, but I was also aware that some of the shows, like Mickey and the Magician, are half in English and half in French. And when I say half, I mean Mickey spoke in French the whole time, the other characters spoke in English, so it's quite difficult to follow the story. It was worth it. Even not being able to follow the story, it was so worth it. All of the singing and the performers, it's live. It's not pre-recorded, it's live singing, and it was incredible. I would go as far as to say, and I said this in the video, it needs to be on your must-do list of things. We really wanted to see the Lion King show while we were there, but it was off. It wasn't on while we were there, which was a real shame. But there is a Lion King section in the Mickey and the Magician, which was so good that it's made me want to book going to see the Lion King show in London, because it's actually something I've never done before, but is now on my list. And just in general, the show was amazing. It's an amazing way to sit down and rest your feet, and it doesn't feel like you're just taking a break from the magic. You're still so in the magic. So definitely do that. That's a must. Anyway, I'm sure most of you actually came here for the haul, and we're quite far in already. So let's show you what we got. Actually, first, before I show you what I've got in the bag, we'll go through what Charlie and the boys got. So first of all, Charlie got the boys some hats each. So they had Spider-Man hats because it was really chilly in the morning and they're a bit cold. So I'll try and get a photo of that and pop it in here somewhere. Then she got them Spider-Man bubble ones. You will have seen those all throughout the videos, but I will get a screenshot of those as well and put them in here. They then were allowed a toy each while we were in the parks across the course of the weekend, and of course they both did that on our first full day. And Arthur got this little set that had like miniature versions of the characters from Spider-Man. I'll pop a screenshot of that in here. And Elliot then got Iron Man hands. I'll pop a picture of that here. Iron Man hands do actually shoot bullets out of them. He wasn't allowed that while we're in the park because we know what he's like, and he probably would have just shot random people with it. So bullets were confiscated until he got home. And while we're on the topic of toys, they also got some toys that we bought to try and keep them occupied in the wagon while waiting for the fireworks, even though we didn't end up waiting for them in the end. But they got a little Cars set, which I'll try and get a screenshot if I've got one and put it here. And then I bought them another set of the trucks from Cars, but slightly bigger ones. And if we can, we'll pop that one here. And then Charlie also got a fridge magnet photo frame. So it's like a little frame that she can pop on the fridge that says Disneyland Paris. I'll pop that in here. While we were in the shop when she purchased that, we were actually in there because Elliot needed trousers and we couldn't find just trousers anywhere. So we ended up having to actually get him a set of pyjamas. So I'll see if I can pop that here somewhere. And we also ended up having to get Arthur a bib because he was ruining his clothes with his food. So I'll pop the picture of the bib in here. And then Charlie also got an hoodie. So it's an all black hoodie with a hood that has Mickey ears on it, and it's got Mickey on the back of it, like, but the back profile of Mickey, like almost holding you like this. I don't know if I've been able to get a screenshot of that yet. We haven't got to that bit of footage, and I'm not sure what I've kept in and what I've, managed to screenshot. But if I don't get a screenshot, I'll see if I can find it on someone else's socials and pop it here. That was actually really nice. I think that's all that she bought. That's all that I can remember anyway off the top of my head. But what did I get? So you may have seen in the videos where I got cold, and you will have seen a little bit of this jumper. So I got this jumper, and you can see there the little, I hope you can see there anyway, the little D for Disney, established in 1992. Really sorry, I don't know what that means. Is that the park? I don't know. I thought the park was older than that. You're going to have to tell me in the comments. But on the back, we've got Grumpy, which was me when I was getting cold. So, ideal. But it's just a lovely brown zip-up fleecy jumper. So, that was my biggest purchase, and that was €50. And then I also bought myself the cup. So if you've watched the videos, you will have seen that I said I loved the cup and I would think about it and come back to it. And I thought about it and I still wanted it, so I bought it. So you can see there, it's lovely little, it's quite summery vibes, isn't it? But you can put a hot or cold drink in there. And that was €25. Quite pricey really for a small cup, but if it's as good as the one that I've currently got in the cupboard, then it's worth it. I would pay that for the one that I've got in the cupboard that's not Disney, because it keeps my hot drinks so hot for so long. And then I got 2 Christmas decorations. I knew I wouldn't be able to come home without any, so no surprises there. So I got this one that you probably will have seen in the videos. Lovely little gold wire Mickey. That was €12. Oh, sorry, the camera has lost me. Yes, subject lost, I know. Oh no. There we go. The camera lost me for a bit there. So that was the first thing that I bought. And then I bought this. Hope you can see it. So it's a lovely, like, little snow globe type thing. But it's actually a tea light holder with Mickey and Minnie inside with a Christmas tree. How cute is that? That was, I can't remember how much that was. I think that was €15. And then we have pins. Now, I'm not a pin collector. Sorry. There were a few that I thought were actually really nice, really pretty, but I don't want to start something that's going to get out of hand. You know what I'm saying? Because it can be a pricey thing to get into. But some of my really good close friends do collect pins, and I was set with a mission to find a few select ones, and we've got them. So we've got this Monsters Inc. one. Sorry, the camera's having a meltdown. This Stitch one. We actually got another one of that Monsters Inc. one because 2 were requested. This Up one. This Cars set. So there's 2 on that one. So we got Lightning McQueen and Mater. And another Ditch one. So they were all... Oh, how much were they? €9? Something like that. You will have seen on the video the colour scheme. They were all green or orange, so the cheapest ones. And then lastly, but certainly not least, the other purchase that I made was another gift. Now, I'm hoping by the time this video goes out, I will have already seen my friend. And if not, I'll tell her not to watch this video until I've seen her. This is for one of my really good friends who recently lost her dog, and it's been really, really tough for her. She had a really, really rough time of things lately this year, and I wanted to get her something that might cheer her up a little bit, that would be a nice keepsake as well. And she also absolutely loves Disney. She goes to Disneyland Paris quite frequently in comparison to me, and Florida, and is just a really, really great friend, so she really deserves it. So we've got a portrait of her dog, but this was cut out by there's a guy that does it on Main Street by Main Street Motors, and usually he does your portrait, so you sit side on and he cuts. This is actually cut out of paper. Well, I don't know that it's necessarily paper. They give you the other half because it's obviously folded in half, so we've got the other half there. And it's a silhouette. I spent hours trying to find a side profile photo of my friend's dog so that he could do it from a photo, and I showed him about 50 photos and he picked the one that he thought he could do the best work with. And he was very honest with me, you know, in saying, you know, I don't think I can work with that photo and I'll do my best. If you don't like it, we'll try again. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. My sister actually did get one of her and the children, so I'll pop a photo of hers in here as well. But this was €30? Yeah, €30 I think. So it's €15 per person or per object that is cut out, and then it was €15 for the frame with the stand. So they have got other options when it comes to the stand. You can have your photo done landscape or portrait. I always get them confused. This way or this way. Or they have a circle frame with Mickey ears on, so it's a Mickey frame, or you can get it in a little ornament. They're all €15, so, you know, whatever your preference is really. But that's everything. That's all that I bought, and that's, you know, my main thoughts on on the trip. And I just wanted to say it was the most amazing trip. I had the best time. I made the best memories with my nephews and my sister, and I can't wait to go back again. I will definitely go back again at some point, and I hope you enjoyed all of the videos up until now. Please give this video a like and comment what your favourite things are in Disney, any of your top tips. Share them with each other in the comments, and your must-dos, any hacks, any tricks, anything that you must purchase, snacks, whatever it is, leave it in the comments and share away with each other. Please subscribe so that you can see our next adventures. Our next travels are going to be to Germany next year, but there'll be lots of home and weekly content in between here and there. So a few Christmassy bits coming up soon, and I hope that you stick around. Like I said, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Bye.